Very Cruel by S.C. Turnbo. Among the settlers of southeast part of Ozark County, Missouri, who came there in the 50s, was David Kyle. Among his children is Davis Kyle, who was born in Bullock County, Kentucky, August 23, 1840. Now, when Davis was 8 years old, his parents moved to Owen County, Indiana, where his mother's, whose maiden name was Miss Patience Ritchie, she died. After the death of his wife, Mr. Kyle moved to Missouri and settled in Ozark County in 1855, where he married Polly Davis. Mr. Davis, who was 15 years old on their arrival in Ozark County, says that his father bought a claim from William Russell, who lived on the north side of the Big North Fork, 12 miles from Rockbridge. This land is also known now as the Ambrose Cobb Place. After living there 3 years, he swapped places with William Browning, who lived on Bryant Creek, 4 miles from us, and moved there. Mr. Kyle said that they'd done their milling at a little mill on Spring Creek, 12 miles from home. This mill was known as the Breakdown Mill and was owned by Henry Spears. Mr. Kyle says that he remembers the names of the few settlers who lived on the Big North Fork when his father moved there. These were Miles Russell, whose wife was named Melinda, Press McClary and Clark McClary, who were brothers. The wife of the first name was Eliza. And there's Isaac Workman and Annie Workman, his wife. Jack Smith, a son-in-law of Workman's. There were also 2 of the Jameses, Johnny and Bennett. The latter was a bachelor, and Jemima was the wife of the first named. Mr. Kyle said that when the war come up, he espoused the cause of the Union and enlisted in the 1st Arkansas Cavalry Regiment, Colonel Harrison commanding. His first captain was R.R. Davis. This officer was succeeded in command of the company by Captain William Johnson. His last company commander was John B.C. Truman. He said that he remembers going to school at Milton Smith a few years before the beginning of the war. The school was taught near the Big North Fork. Mr. Kyle gives an account of the horrible death of his father in war times. He said that one day a bunch of mounted guerrillas, who claimed to be Southern men, rode up to our house and compelled my father, who was 60 years old, to go with them. They also made a half-brother of mine named Henry, and another boy by the name of Mampus, and another boy by the name of Sam Sanders accompany them. The bushwhackers also captured Jen Martin and Johnny Alcorn, and made the men and the boys all go along together. Now, after crossing the Big North Fork on the south side, the guerrillas released the boys and told them, "Go back home." And after conducting my father and the 2 other men to the flat of land, known as the Pigeon Roost, they shot them to death. The spot where they were killed was close to the lot of wild pigs that lay at night, and the hogs discovered the dead bodies and destroyed them. There was nothing found of them except a few bones and pieces of clothing which lay over a wide space of ground, which were collected and buried. It was told that these cruel men cut my father's heart out after they had killed him, but I do not know whether it was true or not. My father was a large man, weighing 200 pounds. Continuing to cite the awful bloody scenes of the war days, Mr. Kyle said that shortly before his father was killed, the guerrillas hung 2 men in their neighborhood of the name of Jesse James and Willis Brown. James's wife, whose name was Elizabeth, was a small woman, but she carried the body of her dead husband home on a horse. Now, James lived on the Big North Fork, and it was 2 miles from where he was hung. My father assisted the poor grief-stricken woman to bury her man, which was done at her home. My father said it was strange how this devoted wife managed to lift the lifeless form of her husband upon the horse and convey it home in this way. Mr. Brown was a hump-shouldered man, and those wicked fellows, just before they put the rope around his neck, tied his feet together, leaving a few inch slack, and after they pulled him up, they placed the small end of a log between his feet where it rested on the tie of the rope. It was told that they said in a mocking way, "We do this to weight him down, to straighten his back." We should be thankful that this cruel war is over, said Mr. Kyle.